TV personnel is ready.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Malden School Committee meeting. Today is Monday, June 4th, and just to give you a synopsis of what's ahead of us, I have here in front of me June 11th, which is next Monday. The Policy Subcommittee will be meeting at 6 p.m. in Central Office here at City Hall, 200 Pleasant Street, to take up a host of issues, but the main focus will be on the bullying policy. On June 18th, which I believe is Monday as well, the Budget Subcommittee will have their public hearing here at City Hall in this chamber beginning at 6 p.m. Once again, the Budget Subcommittee's public hearing will be on Monday, June 18th at 6 p.m. here in the chamber at 200 Pleasant Street, City Hall. And then finally, our next regularly scheduled meeting will take place on Monday, June 25th, and that will be held at 7 p.m. It is there that the school committee will be expected to vote on the fiscal year 2013 budget. So that's sort of the lay of the land for the next couple of weeks. And if there are no other questions, I'd ask everyone to please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence for all those who have served our country and those who continue to serve us overseas. Thank you. Please place all phones on vibrate, and I'd ask everyone to please keep your conversations to a minimum during tonight's meeting. I would now ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Christensen?
Here.
Ms. Cabral?
Present.
Mr. Pasucci?
Here.
Ms. Maria? Here. Mr. Tett? Here. Mr. Froyle? Here. Mr. Iavino?
Here.
Mr. Welby?
Here.
Mr. Winslow?
Here.
Superintendent Jerusi?
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Kasabian? Present. Student Representative Mallory McDonald?
Okay, sufficient quorum existing to conduct business. We will now move to the agenda. Item number 1 is the approval of the minutes. First is the executive session minutes of May 7th, 2012.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Iavino. Seconded by Mr. Froyo. Is there any discussion on the acceptance of the executive session minutes from May 7th? Chair has none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody here opposed? The ayes have it. The executive session minutes are accepted. Now the regular session minutes of May 7, 2012. Motion by Mr. Iavino, seconded by Ms. Doucette. Any questions on the regular session minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. The regular session minutes of May 7th are accepted. Next order of business, public comment. Is there anybody here wishing to address the Malden School Committee? If so, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. I ask you to all make a single file line as you approach the podium. Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll close that part of the meeting. If there be no objection, Mr. Weldy has asked that we take out of order the Eagle Scout presentation, which is currently listed as item number 4 under Superintendent's reports. Does the chair hear objection? Chair has none. Mr. Weldy.
Well, at this point, I'd just like to invite up Sam Zyberg to give us a presentation on the project that he's been doing for his Eagle Scout project involving the Malden Public Schools. So I'll turn it over to Sam.
Thank you, Adam. So
Hello, members of the school committee. My name is Sam Zyberg, and thank you for having me here. I'm a member of Boy Scout Troop 603 and a graduating senior at Malden High. So I'm currently going for the rank of Eagle Scout, which is the highest rank in Boy Scouts. And one of the requirements for the rank of Eagle Scout is that I have to do a service project, which can be anything that benefits the community in any way. And so what I came up with was that I would get backpacks donated to me, fill them with school supplies, and then give them to students who need them in the school system in Malden, because I realized how expensive supplies were. And most of the bags are for students in grades K through 8, and I have a few for high schoolers. And I currently have 28 backpacks that fill with supplies such as notebooks, pens, pencils, rulers, and so on. And I have 2 bags, for example, which are here. This one is a girl's bag, and this one's a guy's bag. They had the same stuff, but because I got bags that had different designs, I just thought I'd make some for girls, some for boys. And I also have about a dozen lunch bags that I have filled with highlighters, crayons, pencils, and glue sticks. It's less stuff than the backpacks. I figured those can be for people who may not need as much supplies. And also some other supplies I like to give to school teachers, which are things like rolls of paper, things that couldn't necessarily fit in the bags, or things I didn't have enough of to give to every student. And the supplies were donated from groups like W.B. Mason, Cub Scout Pack 609, other individuals, and the bags were bought using funds from groups like the Masons. And I'd like to donate these bags to the school committee to distribute to the schools, because I don't really know what schools need them as well, because my only experience is with Linden and the high school. So I have all these bags, and I do plan on getting maybe a dozen or so more and filling those with supplies. I just want to give these back so that the school committee can have these bags once I'm done with them to distribute in whatever way they see fit. So thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be free to take them.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Weldy?
I just really want to commend Sam for the job that you've done. Of all the things that you could have chosen, you chose to work with the Malden Public Schools, and we're very happy about that, and we look forward to working with you to make sure that these get distributed properly. So thank you for everything you've done.
You're welcome, and thank you for corresponding with me to get this meeting in place.
Yeah, and I just want to join Mr. Weldy in saying thank you, not only for what you're doing here tonight, but what you've done your entire Malden High School career. You are the reason why people are really saying that the school has taken off, and I just want to personally say thank you, not just for this, but I know you were involved with Student Government Day, I believe, up
Yes.
at Beacon Hill, and I think I just saw you perform at the Black Box Series, led by Sean Walsh. So, really, hats off to you for, making the school what it is today.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Also, compliments to your organization behind you, Troop 603. I'm very pleased to see your colleague, Benjamin Soper, who just became an Eagle Scout on Saturday here, as well, joining you in what you're trying to accomplish for our community. So, thank you to your family, and all of Troop 603 for, making Malden a great community.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, if there are no other questions, okay, thank you. Oh, Mr. Iavino.
I just want to echo the comments that Mayor Christensen has just uttered. I've been to several courts of honor, Eagle Scouts courts of honor, and I would just simply ask that in the next time that you have an Eagle Scout court of honor, that somebody send an email to Mrs. Ronzio, so that those of us who have never been there can attend, because it's a very impressive ceremony. Thanks very much for your work and your commitment to the community. Keep up the good work.
I'll be sure to talk to our Scoutmaster to get that in place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Iavino. Okay, if there are no other questions, the next order of business, if there be no objection, I'd like to ask from the chair to take out of order under deliberations item number 2, which is Malden Public Schools, and this should say /Pope John Hockey Team Partnership. And this is, let me just lay this out as best I can. This request came in from what I consider to be another great organization here in the city of Malden called the Malden East Boston Youth Hockey Program. And how I became involved with it is over the past couple of years I've been attending their events, but this year the MEB Mites went undefeated in the regular season, undefeated in the playoffs, and they went on to win the championship over at Valley Forum. And so, based on their effort, they're looking to, rekindle the relationship at the high school level. So they stepped forward with, I think, a pretty ingenious proposal, whereby they would partner up with Pope John, and the cost for the year would be $2,000, nothing above, nothing less. That $2,000 would be used for hockey time, ice time, membership fees, etc. But more importantly, it would give, our students who don't have the possibility today of playing high school hockey to be able to do so. The other thing that I'm enamored with the proposal is that it doesn't tie the district into any kind of long-term relationship. The way the agreement reads is that it's for 1 year, and then we would reevaluate to determine, whether it's been effective for the city. But based on what I've seen over the past couple of years, believe it or not, hockey is very much alive here in Malden, and so I think we should really, do what we can, to help those students that do want to play high school hockey, and this would do it. I don't want to speak for the superintendent, but we have met on it. He's signed off. Principal Brown has signed off, and so I didn't want to do anything further without, talking to the school committee, and so that's why the proposal is before you tonight. We do have Phil Genualdo in the audience, who is here to represent Malden, East Boston youth hockey, to answer any questions that you may have. He's also been responsible for the middle school effort, after school program, which I think he was telling me originally it started with 10 students, now up to around 30 or so. So, I have firsthand knowledge of the great things that they're trying to do here in the city, and, my feeling is, we should help them along by, allowing them to team up with Pope John for a year to see whether or not, we can offer this sport to some of these students that do want to play it in Malden. So with that being said, we do have Mr. Genualdo here. We do have the superintendent who's read the proposal and will now take any of your questions. Let's start with Mr. Iavino first.
As you know, Mr. Chairman, and as everybody knows, the Budget Subcommittee has been struggling mightily for the last 4 weeks, 4.5+ weeks, to come up with a budget that would accomplish several things, notably to meet net school spending, to educate the youngsters in the district, and to keep the programs that we want moving forward, moving in that direction. And we made some really tough choices, and we had to cut a significant amount of money out of the budget. I know that the figure that you're talking about is $2,000. Before I can vote one way or another on this, I would simply ask that we be allowed to have a copy of the proposal that the superintendent saw, that I believe you said you saw, so that we could digest it and maybe ask additional questions. I'm not going to say A or nay right now. I would like to see the copy of the proposal and defer any action until the June the 25th meeting. What would be additional costs? I mean, $2,000, who's going to pay for the ice time, which is significant? The cost of hockey equipment, I know simply because my nephew played hockey at Austin Prep. So, as I say, I'm not going to speak for or against it right now. I just would like to see a copy of the proposal before I can make an intelligent choice one way or another. So I would simply say I would love to hear this gentleman speak, but I'm not ready to vote on that tonight.
Fair enough. Just if I could to Mr. Iavino, I did state it's $2,000 flat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no additional costs beyond the $2,000, which includes the ice time and the fee to partner up here with Pope John. Mm-hmm. It's a one-page document. We could certainly bring it in for the June 25th meeting. The only thing I'd want to do if there'd be no objection from the committee, is to just have Mr. Genualdo up, because I know they are under some kind of timeline.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I wouldn't want to risk us missing, you know, a date that would preclude us from this opportunity. But before I do have Mr. Genualdo up, let me see if there are any other questions from the
Point of
memberships.
clarification.
Mr. Weldy, a point of clarification.
Just a quick point of clarification. In order to move forward with this, do you need school committee approval?
I'm not sure, but I did want to, I actually debated that a little bit with Superintendent DeRusi, but even if I didn't, I wanted to get the blessing of the committee, so.
One more point of clarification.
Sure.
Do you know offhand the $2,000 that this will cost? Is it coming out of our current FY12? Is it coming out of the athletic budget for FY12? Or is this coming out of the Malden Public Schools money? I guess I'm asking. Or is it something that the city is funding for us?
That's a matter of debate. I mean, all things being equal, you know, it would come out of the school department budget. You know, it would be an FY13 item.
Okay,
because
we're not talking about this.
Correct. Well, because the season hasn't, it would be for next season. So, but if push comes to shove, you know, and that's going to be the issue, you know, whether or not it's, you know, the $2,000 is within the realm, I mean, I would just offer to fund it out of the office of the mayor. You know, I don't want that to be the item that's bogging us down. I think, you know, I'd rather look at the merits of, you know, giving some of these kids the opportunity to play high school hockey who don't have that ability today, so.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Weldy, Mr. Winslow?
Yeah, I'm just curious, and maybe when the coach comes up, I'm just curious as to how many students have expressed interest. I know we had a few years ago, I think we had up to a $10,000 line item for the cooperative, I think we had with the vocational school, and you know, the interest had waned so much that I think that there was sort of a cost benefit. It was almost $5,000 per player at the end. So I'm just curious as to what the stated interest. Certainly, this is you know, I always, you know, definitely promote efforts to get our kids more active. So so certainly interested in hearing more and getting more details. Thanks.
Yeah, great question. And again, I don't know if I would have brought this before you if there wasn't that change in the agreement, because I think with the VOC, it was a long term. So no matter how many kids were participating, you know, I thought we were on the hook for 5 to 10 years. This one is a 1 year, and then we look and evaluate, you know, the number of kids that are participating. But I'll tell you, based on my first 5 months as mayor, the enthusiasm for the program is really great. We just had them up to the mayor's office, and the number of families and kids that were there led me to believe that, you know, the effort of Mr. Genualdo, Peter Giuliano, Glenn Curtis, and et cetera, they really have, you know, brought some life back to the program. So let me, if there be no objection, let me have Mr. Genualdo come up and just say a few words about where the program stands and what this would do for Malden.
Hi, good evening, and thank you. As the mayor said, my name is Phil Genualdo. I grew up in Malden, went to the Malden Public Schools, and then attended Pope John. So there is my my connection with both of them. And I've always played Malden hockey, and coached Malden hockey, president of Malden, past president of Malden hockey, and co-opt with the Malden East Boston. And then I moved on, and we started a middle school program a couple years ago. And with the basis of Malden students and players. And it's grown to 2 teams in the last few years. Privately funded, the parents pay for it. And, you know, some of the questions, if I could just familiarize you with youth hockey, the expense of it is expensive. Ice time is average $200 an hour. You know, high school hockey starts Thanksgiving and ends typically February vacation. So the $2,000 price that Pope John Athletic Director Sean Thornton put out there, it's probably 2 weeks of ice time, okay? We also have Kate Dunham here, president of Pope John, representing Pope John. She can get into some of the specifics, but I've been talking to Sean Thornton daily on this and weekly. As far as the equipment and uniforms, Pope John is going to uniform the team with home and away jersey and socks, far as I know. As far as equipment, anyone that plays youth hockey and is going to try out, there's no tryouts. Anyone who's going to play on the team typically they have equipment. If they don't have equipment, I don't think it's going to be expense to the Malden budget. We would help out any player, just like we do in youth hockey, middle school. We'll get equipment. You know, anyone that plays ice hockey has equipment in the shed. I know when I turned over to past president, 10 bags of equipment went along with the program. All right, so as far as the equipment, I believe it's a win-win situation for everybody involved, especially the $2,000 figure that he put out there. It's a win-win situation. And as far as the number of kids, because I've been coaching in this Malden, East Boston, started with the Malden for the last 10 or 15 years, off the top of my head, 6 or 8 students that can really impact youth high school hockey. 6 or 8 students off the top of my head. And as you said, the co-op with the Northeast Vogue, that was a significant amount of money. But what you saw happening in years past, players were not going to Malden Public Schools. They were going to Northeast Vogue. They were going to Pope John. They were going elsewhere to play high school hockey. You lost a few students, you know, 6 or 8 students. And a student athlete keeps them off the street. Okay, high school hockey, if they're playing high school hockey, the winter sports is usually basketball, hockey, and some other minor sports. It gets them on the ice. You're on the ice 5 or 6 days a week, okay? I believe the Pope John has already secured the ice time. Athletic Director Sean Thornton and Mrs. Donovan have scheduling. Everything is taken care of. All we're looking to do is give high school students a chance to play high school hockey.
Okay, Mr. Genualdo, if I could, on Mr. Iavino's question, the timing of it, when would we need, do we have until June 20, when's the
No,
timeline?
in fact, I think Athletic Director Sean Thornton already petitioned the MIAA, and typically to do a partnership or co-op, it's got to be 6 months before the season started. June 1st was the deadline. So the MIAA has already approved it. He's already emailed everybody. He's got the approval from the MIA. So tonight is crucial. We have to let the MIA know, right, Mr. Donovan? We have to let them know tomorrow if it's going to happen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Genualdo. Other questions from...
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
and Mrs. Donovan's here if any questions on the Pope John side.
Okay, we'll see what the members have to say. So any questions of the members? Superintendent DeRusi, do you want to add anything?
I think at this time, it's going to be really, as we talked, I think the school committee should weigh in at this time, give their feeling towards it, and I'm waiting to hear their beliefs on this and whether they're ready to look at this as a vote and move forward.
Okay. Mr. Iavino.
As I said, I'm not ready to support this, to speak for or against it, but since it's already happened, you're bringing it to us secondhand. So if you're asking for my support on this without my having seen the proposal, my vote would be no.
Okay. Anybody else? Ms. Cabral? Or Mr.
Thank you. I actually feel the same way Mr. Iavino feels. I mean, we haven't seen the proposal. He serves on the budget school subcommittee. He knows the amount of money we have available. I mean, I would like to see the proposal.
If I might, from the chair, would it help the members if, you know, we were just to pay for the program, you know, out of the city side? Mr. Kasucci?
Time is crucial, and I mean, anyone who knows ice time and the impact that this would have on the kids, this is a great thing and a great opportunity for the kids. So, I'm with you. Whatever you want to do, I'd appropriate it. I'm for it.
Okay. And that's for, we'll pay for that out of the city side. Mr. Froyo?
All I can say is I would like a little more time, but since the time is crucial, you know, I probably could vote for it, but what about insurance for the students that are going to be playing?
Sure. Mr. Genualdo? On insurance? Yep. Come on up, Mr. Donovan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kathleen Donovan, and I'm the president of Pope John. We are reinstituting hockey at Pope John this year. We have made an allocation of over $25,000 to furnish the ice time and the uniforms and so forth. And you must realize we have many Malden students that come to Pope John who live in Malden. And so in discussion about the hockey, we thought it would be an opportunity for your children to play with ours, if you will. It's not a question of the cost. We are really absorbing the whole cost of it. It's just in order to participate, we have to share. And when you have a cooperative team, as Mr. Generaldo said, you have to go to the MIAA 6 months before the season begins. And we did put in not a request without your approval, and I hope you aren't insulted by the fact that it went first. I understand your feeling. However, we put it in as a placeholder. We would appreciate it for your students to join with ours. I think it's a great opportunity for them. Any of you who have played hockey know that ice time costs a fortune, and we are willing really to support it. If you wish to do it, it's an opportunity for your children. If you don't, we understand it, but we appreciate your time.
Ms. Donovan, on Mr. Froyo's question about insurance.
The insurance, we have insurance at Pope John, which covers our students. You have insurance which covers your students in any activity, any volunteer activity, any sports activity. It's all covered by the same amount.
Okay. Questions? Superintendent DeRusi?
Will you need participation right now from Malden Public, the high school, in order to get this program up and reinstated at Pope John?
No.
Okay. Other questions from the members? Ms. Doucette?
I think it's a... Hi, Ms. Donovan, how are you?
Very well,
my daughter
thanks.
went to Pope John, that's why I remember her. I think this is a wonderful opportunity. However, I think it has to do with money. And if the city is willing to pick it up, then it really wouldn't cost us anything. It would be a great opportunity for our students. I thank you for the invitation. I think I don't speak for all of us, but I know we almost feel like we were kind of told secondhand.
And I understand that, and I apologize for that.
But now that we're in this situation to deprive our kids of this wonderful opportunity, and it's only $2,000 and it won't cost us anything, I would be on board with it. I may be in the minority here, but I am on board with it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Donovan. Thank you, Ms. Doucette. And to your comment, and this is the penalty I'm paying to Mr. Iavino, is that's why I'm offering to just take it out of the office of the mayor, to try and help this program flourish. As I always say, it's not an exact science. The paperwork came down after our last school committee meeting. We didn't have another school committee meeting tonight. Then we were trying to find out whether or not it even needed school committee approval. But once I felt that, this committee should be made aware of anything that we're really doing here, we decided to place it on the docket for tonight's hearing. So in a perfect world, yes, this would have happened months ago, but as we know, it's not. And so we're doing the best we can to update the committee as to this opportunity for our students. Mr. Winslow?
I do also raise, I think there's also, there's actually a constitutional question here, because there are restrictions about public entities supporting, religious institutions. So I think we might want to bifurcate a vote of versus supporting and our students participating, and then perhaps tabling the financial issue until that can be clarified. I think I don't know of the structure, whether this is when you set up a co-op team, whether you have a board of directors over that, or whether this will be through,
it stands under the authority of the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Activity. It's not specific to whether it's a religious institution or not. The entire conferences are covered under the umbrella of the MIAA, whether it's a Catholic school, a private school, independent or public.
Okay, so I'm just not certain of whether that was one of the discussions, but you know, I'm supportive of allowing our students to participate. It just in terms of the that particular question. I mean, maybe that clarifies it a little bit.
Yeah, I think it does.
So, right.
But we can always condition it on it.
Right.
Ms. DiMaria?
Hi, Mrs. Donovan, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
I personally support it. I think it's a... Am I talking? Okay. I personally support it, and I appreciate your reaching out to Malden students, as there are several Malden students that do attend Pope John, and I wish you a lot of luck. I hope we could vote tonight, so...
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DiMaria. Mr. Weldy?
All right, so here's where I think I hang my hat, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but I'm still confused as to what it is we'd be voting on and whether or not we need to be voting. And I think that's sort of a sticking point for me right now, because if it's coming from the city, and I think it's important to recognize that, you know, even if it comes from the mayor's office, it's coming from the city, which you'd be generous enough to donate. You know, both of them are city money, our money, your money, it's all the same money. But if it's coming from the city money, then my feeling would be that we would not need to vote on entering into the program, because it would be your discretion to pay for the program. On the other side, you know, my own personal opinion, which I feel fine sharing, is that this does sound like a good venture. It does sound like, with a 1-year trial period, it sounds like something that there's no loss in attempting to do this with the kids, for both sides.
For both sides.
But my own feeling too is, you know, I'm still confused as to what it is exactly we would be voting on, and then if it's an agreement, I would probably feel more comfortable abstaining, only because I haven't seen the actual agreement. That's why I'm sort of trying to piece this all together piece by piece, because there's the financial piece, and then part of me is saying, because Steve has drilled this into me, part of me is saying, is this a policy piece that we're entering into an agreement with another institution for? So I'm not sure, and I don't know how you want to sort of move forward, because if you're committing to use city money, then part of me feels like we don't need necessarily to vote on this at all. You're just looking to gauge our opinion.
Right.
Which, you know, at that point I'd be much more comfortable saying yay or nay, do I support the idea?
Mr. Weldy, again, it's not an exact science.
No,
I think
it's
what we're
not.
looking for is the school committee, you know, and I think you saw this at the city council meeting, is to say, you know, to Pope John and Mr. Genualdo and all the other coaches and that whole East Boston Malden youth hockey program, that yes, we believe, we want to give this a try. You know, if you want to condition it on constitutional questions, we could do that. If you want to condition it on you receiving, you know, the one-page agreement that clearly states that it's, you know, it's for 1 year, it's $2,000 flat. The city will pick it up, so not to belabor the issue here, we can do all that. But I think what Pope John and, you know, Mr. Genualdo is looking for is just, you know, whether or not this committee is willing to support the concept.
See, in that case, I would feel more comfortable voting on the agreements and the potential move conditional upon receiving the actual agreement. And then down the line, if we needed to move money onto the school side or we need to appropriate, we'd take that up in budget subcommittee if
Sure.
we needed to. So, you know, that would make me personally, as one member, feel a little bit more comfortable.
Sure.
I also don't want to go without recognizing clearly the efforts of the chair, the athletic director, the superintendent, who
And the
have
principal.
and the principal, who have put this together, because I think it is an opportunity.
Okay, other questions? Mr. Iavino?
Correct me if I'm mistaken, Mr. Chairman, but did not this issue come before the Malden City Council 3 weeks ago,
Yes.
prior to our...
I don't know that,
Yeah,
Mr.
it was
Iavino, you
three-
asked me a question, Mr. Iavino. I'm
Okay.
trying to answer it.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the exact date.
Okay. I believe it was before the timeline of June the 1st.
Okay.
Okay. So we could have been notified prior to that, had seen a copy of the agreement.
Okay, Mr.
That's my
Iavino,
point.
well, you were notified because you just told me yourself you did see it at the city
No,
council
I
meeting.
did not see it. I heard about it.
You heard about it?
I
Okay.
heard about it.
Okay.
Okay.
And it was on the docket Wednesday, so you did know it then as well. But be that as it may,
I didn't know it
what's
because
the-
I got
what-
the
what's the
docket,
point?
excuse me, I got the docket
Right.
Friday on the revised docket.
Okay, so what's the point?
The point is that I would have liked to seen that agreement. That's a point.
Right.
The other point is, it's $2,000. It's not a huge sum of money in a $56 million corporation.
Sure.
The Malden Public Schools in the city of Malden. It's still perception. People are going to receive or have received layoff notices. That's my point.
Well, my
And
point
I-
back
and
to you
I'm-
is I'm willing to assume the cost.
Well, that's fine, but I've made my point, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Iavino. Any other comments, questions, queries, qualms, concerns? Okay, Mr. Froyle.
I really don't want to beat a dead horse, but, I mean, anybody that thinks that it isn't in our, it's not our job to do, I think it's a policy matter. I mean, I think it's a great idea, but, I mean, I wouldn't like to see this happen again. I'd like a school committee to be notified, with enough time so that we can make a timely decision. But I'll vote for it.
So noted, Mr. Froyle. And so I think, Ms. Doucette, you have made a motion that if I could just clarify your motion, a motion to approve pending funds will be paid, the funds for the program will be paid by the city. We will check on the constitutional question posed by Mr. Winslow, and then we will also condition it on the school committee receiving a full copy of the agreement. Is that your motion, Ms. Doucette? And it's seconded by Mr. Casucci for discussion. Other discussion? Ms. Doucette.
So if the city is picking up the cost, the mayor's office, you just basically want us to be aware of the situation, which is a wonderful opportunity, and just weigh in on it and give our opinion, not really vote on it.
To vote on it, yes, to
Okay.
let them know that
Yes.
we do
Yes.
want to give this a try. We
Yes,
believe in it.
yes.
Even though the cost will be assumed by the city,
Mm-hmm.
it does still fall under the auspices of the Malden Public Schools.
Yes.
And we are willing to give this 1 year
Yes,
try
I'm
and
on
see where
board.
the program goes.
definitely.
So it's motion by Ms. Doucette, it's
Yes.
seconded by Mr. Casucci.
Thank you.
Other discussion? We have the conditions, condition that the agreement will be forwarded to all of you, condition that we will check on the constitutional question, and then the third thing is that the funds will be assumed by the city so as not to throw off, I think what Mr. Iavino was saying, all the work that the Budget Subcommittee's done. Everybody clear on that? Okay, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Ms. Cabral?
Yes.
Mr. Casucci?
Yes.
Ms. Di Maria?
Yes.
Ms. Doucette?
Yes.
Mr. Froyle?
Yes.
Mr. Iavino?
No.
Mr. Walby?
Yes.
Mr. Winslow?
Yes.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to the regular agenda. We're now going to travel on over to the superintendent reports. First item will be accomplishments.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This time of year, the accomplishments, there is so much going on, so it's hard to pick and choose. But I had the pleasure of attending the Bunker Hill Community College dual enrollment celebration, and that was for students right now at Malden High School that are taking dual enrollment courses right at Malden High School, but they're taught through Bunker Hill. It's a great partnership. It's a great experience because I was sitting at a table with several juniors who, by the time they complete their senior year, will probably have enough credit to almost go into college as sophomores, or some might be entering their third year of college. So it's a great partnership. It's a super opportunity for the kids in Malden to begin to earn credits towards college while they're still at Malden High School. So that was a great honor to be there. We had a wonderful National Honors Society event. It was the same night, so Dana and I both started one and ended up at the other one. Again, it's just those are the really great events. And then I ended that week by going to the Kiwanis Club as a guest of Mr. Iavino's, and they had a luncheon where they honored several of the Malden students for their academic successes. So it was like the trifecta of award days for me. It was great to get out there and honor and recognize the academic excellence. Also, we had the athletic awards, which was another nice evening, and that was the evening that Mayor Christensen, he got his Mayor's Cup back onto Malden territory from Melrose, and he made a vow to hold it here for several years. I also had a great opportunity to go up to the State House with Math Director Marianne Finn, Mr. Bowers, and Mr. Lippman from the high school, because Malden High was recognized for their outstanding achievement by JFYNet. Now, JFYNet is a partner, again, that works within the schools, and it helps us make better use of technology to improve student learning. So JFYNet is a partner I'm familiar with. I worked with them as high school principal in Revere, and it was nice to see that Malden is right in the mix and students are doing good things at the high school with that partnership. Salem Wood, the administration and staff were recognized by the DESE for the hard work that they have been doing on their learning walks. And the learning walks focus the building picks topic, and the Salem Wood has done some nice work this year looking at higher order thinking skills. And that's really what we want students to do. We want to raise the task on the students. We want to ask questions that bring them to a higher level of understanding. We want to bring work and tasks in the buildings to a level where students, you raise the task, they get smarter. On all of us. That's how we all learn. Raise the level of task. And they were recognized for the hard work they're doing. I read the reports, and the feedback is all positive. Another school in the district being recognized by DESE for their efforts would be the Ferrywood, so hats off to the Ferryway, to the administration and the staff there, because as you know, about 2 meetings ago, I announced that the Ferryway would be working in partnership with DESE and the Chelsea Public Schools, because Ferryway was acknowledged for their ability to close that achievement gap. So they have been doing walkthroughs and learning walks with members of the Chelsea public school system to look at best practices on closing the achievement gap. So, I mean, the enrollments, what we're doing here is between the dual enrollment and what's happening in the buildings, it's just all good. I mean, your teachers are working hard, your administrators are leading. This has really been, the last couple of weeks have been nice. I've been able to take a step back from budget and meetings to enjoy some of the positive aspects of this district.
Okay, so thank you for that. You next want to talk about the Innovation School update?
Yes. On May 29th, the staff of the Linden voted to continue, and I use this word, courageous path toward becoming an innovation school. Because I think we all know, and we hear this almost to the point of where we get tired of hearing it. Change is difficult, change is hard to accept and change, and that change word is always seen as something negative. Well, in my eyes, change is the only way you grow. Change is progression, change is what it's all about. Change is innovation. So the vote passed, 53 in favor to 11 opposed, and I think it sent a clear message that the majority of that building is behind this idea. Principal Bransfield and his staff, I mean, they should be recognized because they went down a path that other districts and other schools have just said, no, that's something that we may be a little bit hesitant or afraid of. And there's been bumps along the way. I can't compliment the union leadership right here in Marguerite, because we've been down there, we've had several meetings, some very open and frank discussions with that staff about how to move beyond the fear factor and embrace the opportunity to be the first innovation school in Malden. And I believe they turned the corner with that vote. But as I said to them, now the real work begins, because you have a plan, it's a draft plan, you have so much at stake right now. And innovation will not happen overnight. I think the school committee needs to understand that your original vote to move forward has enabled this. But innovation will not happen overnight. The policy that you review, the programs you're looking at, it is a work in progress. And now the work starts. So right after we end this school year, I've already talked with the principal and his team. I'll be down there probably within the first week in July, sitting with them, starting to map out a course of action, and really begin to pull that plan together. It's a solid plan. There are already partnerships lining up. We have MIT, the Broad Institute, we have several looking at coming together to help make this happen for Malden. So congratulations to the staff down there and the administration. They've done some outstanding work.
Thank you, Superintendent. Now, we're new educator evaluation tool update.
Yes, do understand that any one of these topics could be an hour-and-a-half PowerPoint presentation in itself. So I'm giving you the highlights of what we've done. After many hours in meetings with the new evaluator educational tool, I'm amazed at how far we've come. We started, it's impact bargaining, so it takes a lot of trust. There's been a team of 5 union members and 5 administrators, and we started, I believe, right at the start of the new year in January, and we meet. And when we meet, it's 4 or 5 hours at a whack. We close the door, we sit down, and we work at this. And we agree to disagree some days. There's moments I get a little fired up and walk out of the room and come back, and Marguerite's looking at me saying, "Now, Dave, calm down." But you know what? We got to the point where this tool will be before the entire body of teachers for ratification on June 12th. So once again, this wasn't easy, but it was good, hard, honest work. I think we have a tool that meets the needs of the district. I think we have a tool that is good for teachers. I like this tool because it's for all of us. It evaluates superintendents, it evaluates principals, directors, and teachers under the same lens. It is a powerful tool. So the good news is we will be before ratification on June 12th. This is another example of good collaboration here in the district. So I am pleased to announce that it is coming to an end. We will begin to lay out the professional development for teachers and administrators. The administrators are all set for 2 days of professional development on this, the 18th and 19th of June. No rest for the weary. So once the school year closes, we're going right back in and we're going to get some work done on this.
Good stuff. Thank you, Superintendent. And then did you want to, it says here, a budget update?
I believe the way I set this was that I would do a brief summary again, and if Mr. Iavino has the opportunity in the subcommittee report to go to a little
All right,
deeper.
we'll hold it. You want to hold it till then?
I think I could probably start off with it,
Because there is an item on the
There is an item.
budget subcommittee,
Yep.
Mr. Iavino.
All right,
why don't
so
we
that's
hold
fine.
that
We
till
can hold
then?
off to that.
Let's
Awesome.
do this now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take questions for the superintendent on his report. We're going to start to my right with Mr. Weldyke.
Just a quick one, Dr. Jerusi. In terms of the Innovation School update, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, are we going to have to see another vote happen by the 25th?
No, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I believe the vote to move forward is a final vote.
Now, we voted on a draft plan. I'm very certain that I wouldn't have voted to move forward without ever seeing a final plan. So that's why I'm curious as to what the next steps moving forward would be.
Well, I think what you need to understand that this plan is a draft plan. The vote is to continue to seek the innovation. If this vote was the other way around, then we would be done. We would walk away from the table, the innovation school, draft plan or not. It would be impossible for that school to give you a final plan right now because we don't have partnerships lined up. You have a concept, and that plan will be worked throughout the next year to bring that concept to the reality of what a STEAM is. There are unknowns in the process, and we've worked with Bridget Rodriguez at the state, and we've consulted every step of the way. So really, this vote is to say that the Linden School will become a STEAM innovation school. The proposal in front of you could not be set in stone because there are still too many unknowns to it, where we may not, it's impossible for us to say these 5 partners will be all on board at this level because we haven't been able to truly go out and say, we're ready now, we're an innovation school, come on board.
Now, granted, I am for the idea of moving towards an innovation school. However, and maybe anyone else who wants to weigh in can weigh in, I do distinctly remember voting on a draft plan saying and having the conversation that we would be voting on a final plan again after the teacher vote had happened. I distinctly remember calling Marguerite up to the podium and talking about that process. And I remember hearing and discussing the idea that we would be seeing, before we allowed a school to become autonomous from school district policies, that we would be seeing a final plan after the teacher vote had happened that we would be voting on. I would not have felt comfortable voting so early had I known that that vote would just be reapplied and used moving forward.
If I may?
No, please do.
Sure. The original vote for this was between the union and the school committee. At that meeting, the school committee approved the moving forward of the innovation school. So that was the pivotal school committee piece. From here on in, and I will go back and check because I don't remember a June 25th vote on this.
Well, no, I'm picking that date out of nowhere. I was just saying that's our last meeting.
Let me just let him finish. Mr. Waldeck.
I believe the minute the school committee, the union, and myself, we agreed, we signed off to go down this road. It really, after this vote on the 29th, becomes the work of that school to develop this plan and move it along. As school committee members, their autonomy separates them from some of your policy, but not all. They are still held accountable to handbook rules. They are still held accountable to DESE rules. They are still held accountable to AYP and all those. What they are seeking with this movement is that they may look at me and say, we really aren't interested in PD that talks about the Hickory Dickory Dock reading program. We are looking at creating PD around project-based learning. So on our PD day, if it's not something that is DES-driven, we opt to use our own PD for this day. And I think that's where the autonomies come in.
All right, thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Waldeck, if I could, I want to get to other members, so can you...
Could I just finish one last point,
please.
Mr. Chair? I think, and I do agree with you, and I do agree with the process, but I still think what the point I was trying to make was not the point that I disagree with the school separating on specific policy. It was the idea that when we voted what we voted, I was under the impression, as I think maybe others were as well, that we were voting to allow them to start the process, that we were allowing them to actually go through the process of working with the union to get this teacher vote to happen, not giving them a green light for 5 years before it even happened. And that's a sticking point for me. I think I'm feeling a little bit duped in a sense. So that's part of why I feel a little bit as if I was expecting to see some sort of a plan in place as to how this body, move forward. But I'll defer to other members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Waldeck.
Mr. Chairman.
Before I take other questions, I just ask all the members here to try and avoid using acronyms for the press. So when you're talking PD and DESC, if you can just try and spell that out for the folks here in the audience, I would appreciate it. We're going to travel to my right. We're going to go over to Mr. Winslow.
My recollection is similar to Adam's, and I think what we should do is go back and look at our minutes. That I think it was a conditional approval that we were expecting some back. So I think we should get some clarification. That would be one way to look at that in particular to see what our vote was. So.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Winslow. To my left, Mr. Iavino.
Again, I would agree with what Adam and Steve had said. I think that before we can commit to 5 years, and I'm a strong advocate of the Innovation School. I was at a meeting with Dr. DeRusi and Revere in October in a pouring rainstorm, and I believe in this project, and I believe in moving it forward. But I do recall that when we looked and we voted on that draft proposal, I think the words were, there will be more meat around these bones. And that's what, before we can sign off on a 5-year commitment, because we'll be committed to this for 5 years. And again, I support it. I support that whole concept. But I do believe that there is another plan that we have to see with a little bit more substance to it. Thank you.
Mr. Iavino. Any other questions of the superintendent? So, Superintendent, your response,
Well, I will go back and look at the minutes to the meeting. I've already asked that be brought up. I'm wondering if the confusion may have been when the teacher vote would be happening, be it the end of May or the end of June. because I do believe that the school committee's signature back at the original start of this was to bring us to the point where the school would vote, and then the school moves forward. But as a point of clarity, I will find that all out. I will check the minutes. I will consult with Richard and Bridget at the Department of Education to find out what the actual move is. And with regards to, I mean, again, 5 years is the start to the finish point. So I would be hesitant, and perhaps I will have the principal speak to this in a letter to the school committee about exactly what the meat on the bones is supposed to represent. Because I thought from, as we've been working this, that proposal has been getting deeper and richer as it goes on.
Okay, and if I could, just from the chair, I think we've talked privately, also publicly. I'm curious as to the, obviously the costs associated with, going to a innovation school. So, but I do agree with Mr. Iovino, very intrigued with what it has to offer our students, but do want to plan ahead financially. All right, any other questions of the superintendent on his report? If not, we're now going to unveil, I believe, the new Malden Public Schools slogan/brand, and this will come from Ms. DiMaria.
Thank you very much. I hope this turns out positive. For all the members here, I did pass out a packet with some facts and figures regarding our new brand, and I am very pleased at this time to show you the winner of the new brand. I wish I had like a curtain. Can everybody see that? So it is Malden Public Schools, where futures begin. The bumper sticker that is proposed from this logo will be 4x6. It incorporates the traditional Malden blue and gold colors. It has a globe in the back, which it signifies our diversity in the city. The gold star somewhat signifies Converse rubber star of their logo. And where futures begin was a contest within all the K through 8s. This slogan came from a kindergartner at BB School named Vinny Juan Tron. So he was our winner. I also would like to recognize All Set Press for being able to do this hard copy for us, and I do have prices for bumper stickers to distribute complimentary to our school system. Also, I would like to recognize Debbie Morelli, who did our great work with this logo, and our citywide PTO presidents who helped choose this contest winner. So I have prices of a unionized bumper sticker for $10,000. We're looking at 20 cents each, or $2,000. I also have prices that are non-union, so I'm not sure which way you guys want to go. Distribution will be...
You want to go union.
Okay, we want to go union.
Right.
Okay. So, and as we go lower with our order, it becomes a little bit more money. So we have right now 7,371 students and staff within our entire district. So 10,000 would enable us to use the additional bumper stickers for marketing pieces, since we'll be launching this. This is our new face for the city, for our schools. That would give us a little bit of wiggle room. I would also be asking Ron Cochran of our city to add this to all our website, and I do hope that you embrace this. I hope you like this, and I really would love to hear any questions, see if I can field them.
Okay, questions of Ms. DiMaria. To the left, we'll go Mr. Froyo, and then we'll go to Mr. Casucci.
Debbie, now when you're talking about a sticker, is that one that's going to stick on the outside of the window?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have to go through, sorry. I was pricing both of them, the window decal, which is like a Klingon, and a bumper sticker, and since we've really decided to stick with the Union, and it's a little bit more expensive, then I can certainly get the price of the Klingon, but they're probably double.
Well, I think with the size of this, I think it might be better to have the Klingon that goes on the window. But one thing I noticed, I think, it's my own opinion, I mean, I was in the business and so forth, but I would like to see Malden and public schools in gold also.
Okay, so there's a suggestion. Let's hear from others. Thank you, Mr. Froyo.
Thank you.
Mr. Casucci.
I love this logo. It shows the future of Malden, and it has a lot of ideas in it. I think you did a great job. I know it took you a long time, and you did a lot of great work, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other members? Mr. Weldy.
Well, I love that it came from a kindergartner.
Yeah.
I think that that's wonderful. And it shows that you really reached out to parents, students, teachers, you got the word out there, and I think this is really cool. And it's an admirable job you did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weldy. Any other questions for Ms. Maria? Mr. Froyo, for a second time.
I just forgot. I want to thank you also, Debbie, for all the work you did. It's a nice sticker.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Froyo. So if I might, from the chair, on behalf of the committee, what are you looking for us to do next?
Well, I think what we need to do is establish, we really have a task at hand with 1 week. If we are to distribute this for next week, which is the last week of school, we need to decide if we're doing it as is or with changes, and we need to decide how many we want to order, or if we want to isolate it to just the K through 8s. So, I mean, my personal proposal would be 10,000, and we go from there. This is our new marketing face, and we'll be reaching all the schools, all the staff, City Hall, anywhere we can go, we need to give this out.
Okay.
So when we're out this summer, we see this.
Okay, so she's looking for endorsement of the proposal that's been worked on for quite a while and with many parties involved. And so what's the pleasure of the committee? Let's go to Mr. Iovino, who hasn't spoken yet, and then we'll go to Mr. Casucci.
I endorse the concept. I love the sticker. If you wanted to put Malden in gold, fine. If you wanted to keep it white, I can live with either one. I think we should go with the 10,000. If you're in the pool, you might as well swim, so
Thank you.
we should get with the 10,000.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Casucci?
Make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to accept it, her proposal. Are we at that point where every...
Yeah, that's fine, Mr. Casucci. Now, I find it rather surprising that no one has asked about where the funding would come from in this proposal. Did you assume it's coming out of the mayor's office? Is there, just assume it's out of the mayor's office? Or? Right. All right, so let me ask Mr. Maria, or the superintendent rather, if I could. Superintendent, how will we pay for this?
Well, once again, I will have to go back to check my FY12 standing at this moment, but I might be able to work with this publishing printing agency to perhaps pull it over into FY13. We will personally talk with Debbie and her contacts.
Okay. You make sure you run that by the budget subcommittee?
I believe the budget subcommittee will be pro-sticker. They believe in Malden Public Schools where futures begin.
All right, fair enough. Any other questions from the committee? If not, I know Mr. Casucci has made a motion to endorse and to move forward. It's seconded by Mr. Winslow. So are there any other questions? Any other discussion? Mr. Weldy has a point of clarification. Ms. DiMaria, which amount are we going with? This is for...
I'd like to go with 10,000 for 20 cents each, which would be a $2,000
Okay.
fund.
So that's for 10,000. Does that clarify your question, Mr. Walde? Okay, it does. And if I could, Mr. Casucci, I'd ask you to pull back on the motion. The protocol is to always let the one that worked on it the most sponsor it. So she's made the motion, seconded by Mr. Casucci. Clerk, you have that, Madam Clerk? Okay. So are there any other questions? Everybody's sure about what we're doing here. Everybody is set. Ms. Cabral.
Okay, I just want to say, great job. You did a lot of work with this. I just find it very hard that we didn't give the money to the high school kids to have the hockey for 2,000, and here we are approving the bumper stickers. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. I understand all the hard work that went into it. It looks great. We're choosing bumper stickers over supporting the kids, keeping them off the street. I'm torn.
So noted. But if it's any consolation, I mean, let's move on. I mean, we've addressed the other issue. But comments so noted. Any other comments, queries, qualms? Ms. Doucette?
I agree with Jen. I mean, we were complaining about $2,000, and you graciously absorbed the cost, and now we're willing to give $2,000, but I think it's a great, it's not against you, it's just, how can 1 minute we're saying no to one and saying yes to another? But that's an opinion. So.
Now, this isn't an effort for you to ultimately have this come out of the mayor's office, too. You guys talking while I'm administering the meeting here?
We're trying.
All right, thank you. All right, so any other questions? Anybody to my right? Hearing none. Anybody to my left? I will, before I get to you, Mr. Casucci, the superintendent has spoken. He will work to make this happen. He has been working closely with Ms. DiMaria, the citywide school PTO, and others. So, if he believes that we'll be able to make this work, then, I believe him. So, Mr. Casucci?
Just a comment on the hockey. I don't think we ever got to the point where we weren't going to fund it. It was just the questioning of the protocols, That's how I was taking that situation.
Yep.
And then when you offered to pay for it, I mean, who wouldn't agree for that? I mean,
thank you, Mr. Casucci. But let's stick to the matter at hand. We have a motion by Ms. DiMaria to endorse the proposal. We have a second by Mr. Casucci. Any other discussion? Everybody is clear on what we're doing? Everybody, I don't see any other hands. Any other hands? Mr. Walde for a third. Now, this is almost a violation of our rules, right? Member gets to speak 3 times. Mr. Walde.
No, I think I would be remiss without mentioning, I do think that a key difference, I want to echo what Kevin said. We didn't necessarily get to the financial conversation when it came to the hockey proposal, but I think a key difference here for me is this isn't something new for us. Debbie's been updating us on the proposal and on the project every meeting for the past 3 or 4 meetings or so. So for me, I knew the result and I knew where we were going. So with the superintendent's assurance that this is something that we can fit and something that benefits all 7,371 members of our community, I feel much more comfortable moving forward.
I knew I shouldn't have let him speak again. All right, Mr. Winslow.
This might be a question that Mr. Froyo might be able to ask. I've had good luck going to the vocational school and getting even more reasonable rates. I don't know if this is something that the vocational school would be capable of. So I just, I don't, or Len or John, that you might know more a little bit.
All right, so noted. Ms. DiMaria will take that under advisement. 1 second first. So, Mr. Winslow, you're finished?
Yeah, I'm finished as it says.
Let me swing left, and then I'm going to come back to Ms. Cabral. This is Mr. Froyo.
Okay, I think, Steve, what the problem would be is it's the end of the school year, so they probably wouldn't be able to do it. But they could do that. They could do it.
And she'll go back.
In the future, right.
Yep, in the future. Now we're going to go to Ms. Cabral, then I'll go to Mr. Iavino.
I just want to, point of clarification, make sure that this money is coming out of the FY12 budget, not the FY13 budget, which we're currently struggling with a little bit.
Right, good question. Question is whether or not these funds will come out of the fiscal year 12 budget or 13. Superintendent DeRusi.
I will review as we become even more I would, for the want of the word, depleting our funds in FY12. $2,000. I will work with Debbie DiMaria with the printer. If there is a problem with my FY12, I will ask the printer to delay bill for payment until the fiscal 13 calendar, July 1st.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Cabral? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Cabral. Mr. Iavino?
With all due respect to the vote, I think that a Malden project, as we're talking about here, the printing business should stay in Malden.
So is that
Thank you.
is that a condition?
I
It's
hope
implied,
it's not
right?
a condition.
It's implied, it's
All right.
implied, all right. Thank you, Mr. Iavino, good point. I saw another light down there, is that not the case? Okay. All right, so here we are. So once again, this is a proposal made by Ms. DiMaria, seconded by Mr. Casucci. You're all set, Superintendent DeRusi? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Cabral? Yes. Mr. Kaczynski? Yes. Ms. DiMaria?
Yes.
Mr. Seth? Yes. Mr. Foil?
Definitely.
Mr. Iavino?
Yes.
Mr. Waldai?
Yes.
Mr. Winslow?
Yes.
Mayor Christensen?
Yes. Okay, the vote is unanimous. We'll move full steam ahead now. Congratulations, Mr. Maria, and to the
Thank
Citywide
you.
School PTO.
Thank you very much.
Next order of business, we're now under subcommittee reports. First up will be the Policy Subcommittee, which will be led by Mr. Winslow, and he is going to talk about 3 items. The first item is the 2012-2013 school calendar change, which I believe is going to be revised. Then we're going to talk about a wellness policy change, and then finally, make-up work after suspension policy. Mr. Winslow.
We had a request from Malden High School. Their November Professional Development Day, I believe, was on November 1st. They would like that moved to November 6th for their convenience, and that there was just that request that they move their Professional Development Day. So that's the only difference between the calendar that was voted on last meeting. So that was just at the convenience of the high school. I think we might have to suspend the rules because will not be referred to policy committee. I think we're looking to get this approved tonight. So I guess my first motion would be to suspend the rules and that we could take this up on just a whole school committee vote without referral to committee. So.
Okay, so Mr. Winslow, you're first making a motion to suspend docket rules?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, it's seconded by Mr. Winslow. I'm sorry, Mr. Waldai. All those in favor, does everybody understand what we're doing here? Let me just make sure of that first. Okay, with that being said, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed to suspending docket rules? The ayes have it. Docket rules are suspended.
All right, so this would just be a motion to approve this amended school calendar. The committee did vote unanimously in support of it, so we're just making that change for the convenience of the high school. So,
motion by Mr. Winslow, seconded by Ms. Doucette. Everybody clear on the motion? Any other discussion? Mr. Iavino?
It's moved to what date?
it was moved from November 1st to November 6th.
Could I just have you use your mic?
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Could I just have you use your microphone,
certainly.
please? What was
Yeah.
your question, Mr. Iavino?
The question was, it's moved from November the 1st to November the 6th, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's fine, thank you.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Chair has none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That change passes. Now we're on the wellness policy change.
Yes. In your packet, there are the notes from the Policy and Procedures Subcommittee meeting on May 21st. At the third page, talks about the proposed revisions to the wellness policy. This was as a result of the referral that was brought by Ms. Cabral and referred to the Policy and Procedures Committee last meeting. This relates to fundraisers, and there was discussion both within the internal wellness committee at the schools with that Cheryl McGuire leads, as well as the Policy and Procedures Committee. And the proposal is to the policy as it now stands prohibits fundraisers until a half hour after school. this basic proposal is to keep the policy pretty much as is, with the exception that school fundraisers could begin immediately after school. The way it would work is that they, groups having school fundraisers could work through the food service to purchase the food. That would be in accordance with school lunch guidelines and Mass Department of Public Health guidelines for competitive food. So, so there would be the opportunity to do these fundraisers immediately after school. So that those are the two key changes. So I think it's consistent. I know that this was also brought to the district-wide PTO, and I think it's consistent with what the superintendent discussed there and was supported by the district PTO. So the committee did vote in favor to recommend that the whole committee make these changes to the wellness policy. So.
Okay, Mr. Winslow, from the chair, for the edification of the committee, what was the vote of the policy subcommittee?
It was, I believe, it was 4-0 on that.
4-0?
Unanimous, yeah.
Okay, and if I might, I know Ms. Cabral, you've done a lot of work in this area. Would you care to comment?
Yes, I would like to say thank you to the Policy and Procedures Committee for doing the work on this, and I did attend the Wellness Committee, and there was a lot. We did sit there for about an hour or so discussing this and how we could make this work, and this is the best proposal that we came up with. So, again, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for doing the work.
Okay, so this meets your expectations?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Winslow, I believe, seconded by Ms. Cabral. Any other discussions? Everybody had a chance to read over the material? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The wellness policy change is hereby adopted. Finally, out of the policy subcommittee will be a discussion of makeup work after suspension policy. Mr. Winslow.
All right, this was actually referred out of the April Policy and Procedures Committee. We voted on it, but we did not actually get it on the docket for last committee meeting, so we're bringing it up now. This was just a request. There was actually, I believe, an inconsistency between the makeup policies between the K through 8 schools, K through elementary and the high school. So this is making it consistent that we do. We now would allow makeup work for when there are absences or for suspension, but there will be limitations on, for example, an exam. A student who missed an exam due to a suspension could get a score no higher than 75. And if there's a need to make up work due to a suspension, that has to happen after schools. After school at the convenience of the teachers. So I think this is, we discussed this with the superintendent, and this seemed to be a workable policy that would recognize that it's the student's burden to make up that work due to a suspension, but not be so punitive to not to give them the opportunity to make good and be punished academically if they otherwise served their suspension and made good on the effort to make up the work. So, so that the committee, I believe, voted 3-0 on that policy.
Okay.
change.
Before we get to the members, just want to make sure the superintendent weighs in. You're good with this change?
Actually, this change was brought to me by some of my 5A principals that felt that there was an inconsistency of if I suspend a child for an offense and the consequences being paid, it was almost like a double jeopardy then to be punished academically. Parents have raised this concern, and I think when I brought it to the subcommittee, they did a nice job. They wrapped it around. They put the onus of making this work up, not on the teachers, but on the students and the parents. And with the cap of saying 75% is your maximum score, there is still that little bit of that consequence. So I think it works because it's difficult to defend that you're a district that is preaching high academic standards when a child may be suspended for something, non-egregious, but then you say, well, it's the day of a test and you get a 0. So I think it puts the ownership back on the parent and the child to make it up. I think it was a good decision on the subcommittee's part.
Okay, Mr. Iavino.
Mr. Winslow, with regard to truancy, when a youngster decides on his or her own that they're going to flag school, there is no makeup, is that correct?
Mr. Winslow?
Yeah, I believe that's still, we just changed it related to suspension.
Thank you.
So, right, great.
Thank you, Mr. Iavino. Mr. Weldy?
Mr. Winslow, I do appreciate this policy. I think this is a good one to finally have, and it's very well written. And as a teacher, I appreciate something like this as well. My question is for the superintendent, and I ask this kind of cautiously because of all the conversation we've had about this specific position. But at the high school, do we have in-house suspension? We do have in-house suspension?
Superintendent DeRusi?
I believe, yes, there is an in-house suspension program at the high school, yes.
So would we need to specify in this policy that this would not apply to the people who are serving in-house suspension versus the people who are sent out of the building?
I believe the concept of in-house suspension would mean you're still in school, you have work to do in school, and I did see Carol Keenan out in the audience, so if a child, Carol, if you don't mind, step...
Ms. Keenan, if I could have you come to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, Carol Keenan, principal.
It's actually called in-house intervention. The assignments are sent down to the in-house room. It's purposely not called in-house intervention, in-house suspension. So it would be a situation that's not quite as serious that would warrant out-of-school suspension. We also have that at the Salem Wood. I'm not sure which other K-8s have it, but the work is made up.
Okay.
That clarifies my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Waldeck. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. If I might, from the chair, Mr. Winslow, so what are the next steps here? Let's say the committee approves it. Do we send notice out to the affected parties?
We wanted action because this ends up in the school handbooks and that type of thing, so that way this is in place for next year's handbooks and that type of thing.
And then how do the principals get notified? Is there an email just on these changes that we're doing here tonight?
I guess we can ask the superintendent to send it up. And some of them are waiting for it, even for use this year, so.
Okay. Let me hear from the superintendent.
We actually used it once already recently, once I knew the subcommittee had approved it. No, what we do is any type of handbook changes will be given to the principals, so that part of opening day in the principal's world is to review the changes in policies, the changes, bullying policies. So there's a series of reviews, and I mean that is the vehicle.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Mr. Winslow, you have a motion to adopt, seconded by Ms. DiMaria. Is there any other discussion? Everybody understands these changes before you? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody here opposed? The ayes have it. That policy is adopted unanimously. Okay, Superintendent DeRusi.
For the record also, Mr. Chair, I also asked the subcommittee on policy to open up and look at our head lice policy, and I know that's under advisement right now. They're working on it. We had a couple of issues and concerns raised from both principals and parents, so that went right to the subcommittee for review.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions on that referral? Chair has none. Next order of business. Budget Subcommittee report, which will be presented by Mr. Iavino.
Dr. DeRusi, do you have anything that you want to add first? Okay. A little background.
Superintendent DeRusi?
Absolutely. What I would like to say with regards to the budget, I shared a letter with the staff earlier, a couple of weeks ago, and really the deficit we faced was several elements coming together. It was the reduction and loss of millions of dollars in federal grants. It was the idea that this district is growing, and my weekly meetings with the mayor, I bring him the numbers. We are a district right now that is experiencing a baby boom. Our ELC numbers are going up. Our elementary grades, K through 5, almost are already at max, and our kindergarten enrollment is at this last week was at the same level it was for the year of 2011. We are experiencing a baby boom in Malden. So unfunded mandates from the state, mandates that we have to fund with regards to the ELL populations, special needs populations, as well as a district that has seen pay increases across the board for the last 3 years, have really put us in a position where I refer to it as the perfect storm of budget issues. It all came together, and with our net school spending being what it was, the mayor's office giving us X amount of dollars above net school spending, we still found ourselves to level fund this district. Again, level fund. We were roughly about $1.5 million below what we needed. So there was a lot of work put in, and we met several times as a budget sub, and we've worked at this really, we started working on this back in March before we had the state numbers. And the state numbers came out late in April. We were given our numbers. The principals knew. We kept everybody informed that we could be facing this. So that being said, again, a ton of good work, not easy work. Principals, myself, central office, the union, the subcommittee, the school committee, and I have to say, love it, hate it. No one likes to see cuts go into a budget, but this district, in less than 5 weeks, balanced a budget. And I will stand as the superintendent and say, I am proud of a district that could come together with their differences, with different focuses, but one major focus: keep class sizes small enough so that teachers can teach. And we balanced a budget. So with that note, I'd like to pass it over to a gentleman who was intricate in this, was Mr. Iovino.
All right, let's hear from Mr. Iovino.
Thank you, Dr. DeRusi. And we also have to recognize my colleague Adam Weldi from Ward 5, who co-chaired the Budget Subcommittee with me. Just to reiterate a couple of things that the superintendent had said, these were very, very agonizing decisions. And, you know, Adam and I realized that, you know, as elected officials, we have to make the tough calls. It's our responsibility. This was not an attempt on anybody's part to micromanage the schools, to cause pain, because every cut is associated with a name and a face. And if you've been around the schools for 38, 40 years, as I have, you know a lot of these people, even some of the younger ones. So it was a difficult process, but it was a process that we had to do. Our goals were 3 things. We have to meet net school spending, we have to keep moving the district forward, and we have to provide enough money to carry forward the curriculum, which is the heart and soul of any school system. We were given a number that the superintendent said slightly above what would have been net school spending. And then in the Senate version of the budget, there was $139,767 added that allowed Dr. DeRusi to curtail some of the cuts that had been anticipated and to restore several positions, certainly not all of them, but several. So that we are now operating with a budget of $56,164,546. And Dr. DeRusi has made a pledge, all of us on the subcommittee have made a pledge that we're not going to spend a penny that we don't have or that we cannot account for. So with that being said, I'm proud of the work that our committee members did. I'm very proud of the work that in the cooperation that we had from the Malden Education Association by allowing Dr. DeRusi extra time to work some figures so that we could delay sending out massive numbers of letters to teachers. When you do that, what you do is you wreck the morale in the school system. It's an awful feeling. I've been there. I know that feeling, both as a teacher and as an administrator. And I think through Dr. DeRusi's hard work, and how many forms of the budget? 8, 10 drafts of the budget? 10, 11, whatever. But we got to the number. And that's the number that we will work with next year and carry forward. So a hearty thank you to Steve Winslow, who was on the Budget Subcommittee, my colleague to my left, John Froyo, to my co-chair, Adam. Yeoman work all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iovino. Any questions of the co-chair of the Budget Subcommittee? If not, Mr. Froyo.
I'd just like to commend Adam and Lenny for all the time they put into this budget, and of course the superintendent, put in a lot more hours than we did. So it was a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Froyo. And just to let the public know the next steps, once again, this proposal that has been vetted by the Budget Subcommittee will be taken up June 18th at 6 p.m. for all the public to comment. Here in the council chamber, that'll be at 6 p.m. What will happen from there is the school committee will come together on Monday, June 25th at 7 p.m. With the expectation to vote the fiscal year 2013 budget. And for the new members, what that will require is a majority vote on that night. And just my couple of comments, I too want to thank and Superintendent DeRusi, the Budget Subcommittee, the Malden Education Association, and all the other stakeholders. As you can imagine, I have enough problems on the city side, so it's nice to know the great work that had been done with the budget by the subcommittee as well as the school committee and all the other stakeholders. And for those that haven't had an opportunity yet, the preliminary budget is online. It's at www.cityofmalden.org, and it's organized this year with drop-downs and visuals to make it easier on the residents to be able to get a look at where their taxpayer dollars are going. So if there's no other questions, June 18th at 6 p.m. The public hearing will be right here in the chamber, and it will be chaired by Mr. Iavino and Mr. Waldi. Any other questions? Mr. Waldi?
Just two comments. One, at that meeting on June 18th, we will go into more detail in terms of what the cuts and reductions are and were. So I know that if there are any members of the press and or people watching that are interested between now and then, feel free to reach out to us to talk a little bit more about it. Just a note, just to echo a lot of what my colleagues said, I definitely want to thank Steve and John for their participation on the Budget Subcommittee, but I really want to give a special thank you to Lenny, my co-chair, because you learn a lot, and leadership is very much top-down. And this budget process, as one member, this budget process was something that I had never seen before from this committee. And I've been here for a while in this position. I was here for a while in Mallory's position, and this is something that I have never seen before. I've never seen a committee so willing to work openly with a mayor, so openly with a superintendent, and so openly with the public. I've never seen participation at a budget subcommittee meeting. I've never seen the amount of transparency that we have seen this year from top down, from the city side to the school side. And that should be noted, and that should be commended. So I thank Mr. Iavino, I thank Superintendent DeRusi, I thank the chairman, and I thank the public who took the time to actually come to these meetings and participate. As a school committee member, even last year, I think a lot of us felt we didn't have the right to participate if we weren't on the budget subcommittee. It makes a big difference, and I hope that that was felt, and I look forward to that continuing in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Waldi.
One final comment is the fact that, and I'm sure Adam will agree with me, we have never until this year had the information and the tools to make the decisions that had to be made. This was the first time since I've been on the school committee that we have had from the business office or a representative of the business office the information that was clear, concise, and readable and understandable. You didn't have to be an accountant to figure it out. It was right there. And we had never had that before, Mr. Chairman. And Adam, you'll agree with me. Oh, yeah. So a shout out to Tony Mertz. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good to hear, Mr. Iavino. Also, the members should know that at some point the City Council will be taking up the entire city budget, which includes the Malden Public Schools. So at some point I would expect Superintendent DeRusi will be called before the Finance Committee and maybe the whole City Council to go over the particulars of the proposed budget. So that's where we are, that's where we're going. And now back to the agenda. We're now under deliberations. Item number 1, District Alignment Feasibility Study. And this is to be led by Mr. Weldy.
I submitted a paper in your packets. This is one that I'm particularly excited about, and this could, it has the potential to branch into many different directions. But I think as we enter a school year, we will be potentially looking at planning a major administrative reorganization. It makes sense that we would look at reorganizing how we actually educate our students as well. Last year, we were able to look very briefly at a proposal for a centralized middle school, and I think the root of that proposal and the root of this proposal as well is the idea of looking at aligning what we do and how we do it. We have 5 K-8 schools where people can leave the 8th grade with many different experiences going into the high school or going into wherever they go. And I think it's, in my opinion, our responsibility to take a look at exactly what we're doing grade by grade, especially in the 5 through 8 side, and be able to see how we can align ourselves throughout the district so we don't have 5 completely different schools doing 5 completely different things. You know, where do we look and see what our priorities may be moving forward? You know, do we want every 8th grader to have health education? Do we want every 5 through 8th grader to have foreign language? It's where we can stop and look at what we're doing moving forward. This one was particularly interesting because for the first time we have a superintendent who's actually willing to look at this, and we have a mayor with an affinity for task forces. So it seemed only appropriate to present this tonight. It seemed appropriate to present this tonight and see if my colleagues will support me in sending this to the chair to request initiating a district alignment feasibility study. So tonight I would be looking at the support of my colleagues to send this to the chairman and do with it what he wishes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weldy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I think we already know who the chair will be of this task force. So questions of Mr. Weldy's? Let's go Mr. Iavino, then we'll go to Ms. Doucette.
And just to support Mr. Weldy's proposal, I look forward to being a part of that if the chair so chooses, but I think that it's well overdue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Iavino. Ms. Doucette.
And not to also have an invitation to be part of it, but I do agree with it. I think that it's important that all 5th graders come out of the 5th grade with the same experience, so when they do spill into the high school. My only question is, centralized middle school grades, what grades would that be? And where would you locate them? Maybe a little logistics?
Well, I think that would be flushed out in the study.
Right,
So,
right.
all right,
That
Ms.
would be some of
Doucette.
the questions that'd be asked.
Right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Any other questions? Ms. DiMaria.
Well, I think it's a great idea, Adam. I think with our magnet themes from 12 years ago, we didn't have that. So as we move forward, we're aligning all grades and all curriculums, so I do support that. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of the members? If not, if there be no, I'm sorry, Mr. Kasucci?
A centralized middle school at the Salem would that displace anyone that's already going there?
Well, again, I think this would, bear itself out through the study.
Okay.
But I don't know if Mr. Weldy wants to offer anything or just let it evolve as the group gets going. We'll let it evolve as the group gets going, if that's okay, Mr. Kasucci. So if there's no objection, we'll have Mr. Weldy chair, joined by Mr. Iavino and Ms. Doucette. Everybody okay with that? It'll be a 3-member ad hoc, and an ad hoc committee. Subcommittee will be one that goes in to do specific work, which is mentioned here, make their report to the school committee, and then they'll sunset back into doing the other things that are required of the committee. So everybody's clear on that? Okay. One other thing, let's hear from the superintendent on this initiative.
Okay, right, just to put this out there, we are not exploring a middle school centralized concept. What I have been given the task of is to begin to look at a reorganization and restructuring of our school district. I think the timing is right. I could see that if this, just from the reaction of this committee, the concept of a centralized middle school and the heads turning and they're trying, I don't want to panic a district at this point. We are in the beginning stages of trying to align and reorg and restructure. This is something, it's a challenge I'm up for. I think it does play into a strength of mine, the ability to begin to marshal and pull things together, to look at where we are with a vision, starting with a vision where we want to be, and I think alignment is the first vision, to align us so that there is common language, there are common courses, there are common themes, so that the alignment is driving. And as this is not going to be a one meeting, we're going to figure it all out, we're looking at much like everything else we've done this year, a long series of meetings, in-depth discussions, and looking for outside partners to help us, because sometimes it's nice to have an outside eye come in and look at what we see every day they may see differently. So we are not moving towards, and I put this out there again, a centralized middle school theme at this point in time. We are looking at alignment, restructuring, and reorganization. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent DeRusi. If I might, let us pin down the impending chairperson of this subcommittee, this ad hoc committee, to let us know when he will report the recommendations and the findings. This is always the hard part. It's easy to announce the formation of a task force.
That's true.
It's harder to announce when you'll deliver the report and the findings.
Directly afterwards. My goal, and I think I'd want to hash this out with Superintendent DeRusi a little bit more, my goal would be to be able to present everything that we believe we should be looking at with the full committee by early next school year. I think that, and I think Dr. DeRusi and I have talked about this once or twice before, I would like to see somewhere around an October-ish, October-November date of being able to say, this is what we've spent our time doing, because we'll start now, we'll start soon, and it would be nice, I think, you know, if we get started soon, we might be able to have sort of the preliminary, this is what we'd like to do moving forward for everyone at the next meeting, because we do have one more meeting before we recess. But I'd like to see an October-November end date.
Thank you, Mr. Waldi. So Mr. Waldi has made a motion for the committee to endorse this ad hoc committee. It will be chaired once again by himself, and he'll be assisted by Mr. Iavino and Ms. Doucette, and the report and the findings will be due by November 1st. Everybody clear on that? Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, and the ad hoc committee is created.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, we've disposed of item number 2 under deliberations. We're now under the consent agenda, and we've dispensed with items 1 and 2, which brings us down to item number 3, Malden Taxi, which will be spoken by Mr. Iavino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe that all of my colleagues on the committee are in receipt of a copy of the same letter that I received, and I believe you received as well, from Mr. Lester Moravitz, President of Malden Transportation. And the purpose of the letter is he is asking us to extend the contract under which he is operating for the same terms, the same cost, for an additional 3 years. And the reason that he's making that request is in order for him to secure a loan to upgrade his facilities and his equipment and his vehicles. Lester Moravitz has been a strong part of the Malden public school transportation system for, I believe, nearly a quarter of a century, and his services and his commitment to the public schools is without question. So I would heartily recommend to this committee that we agree with Mr. Moravitz to extend his contract for an additional 3 years at the same rate, because there's a zero cost factor to the budget. So that's key as far as I'm concerned. So I put that motion out there, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so Mr. Iavino's made a motion, seconded by Mr. Casucci. If I might, just from the chair, we have been in contact with Mr. Moravitz, and this also has been a topic of our weekly meetings for the past couple of weeks. And I think we were still waiting on getting a copy of the actual contract that's in place now, right, to make sure that there are no conflicts with what Mr. Iavino's proposing. Mr. DeRusi, Superintendent DeRusi.
We have found a previous contract, but we haven't been able to put our hands on a current one. We do have a letter of agreement, which I will submit to the mayor tomorrow night when I meet with him at 5 for his review.
So Superintendent DeRusi, we have located the existing contract?
No, we have we have an expired contract. So I believe there is a letter that refers to the falling back on the previous contract, but again, we could not find an updated current one. So I do have a cover letter stating, and I will bring that to the meeting.
Maybe Mr. Iavino can shed some light on this one.
Well,
Mr.
I
Iavino?
mean, that comes as a shock to me, as a surprise, but I would certainly, with a telephone call to Mr. Moravitz, ask him. I mean,
I already
I'm
have.
sure he has
Yeah.
a copy of the contract, and he'd be more than happy to share it with us.
Okay.
Okay?
So, Mr. Iavino, would you hold this for the 25th?
I certainly will.
Pending the outcome of us getting the paperwork that's needed to extend the terms?
That's very good. Fine.
All right, so Madam Clerk, will you make sure this is on the docket for June 25th? In the meantime, Superintendent DeRusi, can you flag down the existing contract and take into account what Mr. Iavino's proposed?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So is there any questions? So Mr. Iavino, you'll table the motion to June 25th.
Table it pending the receipt of the contract from Mr. Moravitz to Dr. DeRusi. I will move to table.
Okay. So that's been seconded by Mr. Casucci. Any other discussion? Everybody's clear what we're doing? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. The next order of business is school choice vote. This is under the consent agenda, item number 4. Who is here to speak on that? This will be Ms. Cabral.
No, I'd actually like to excuse myself from this conversation, please.
Okay. So Ms. Cabral has asked her to be excused from the consideration of school choice. Is there any objections from the committee? Chair hears none. Now, who placed this on the docket, Madam Chair?
Well, we have to put it on every June and have a vote, and then that letter has to go to the DESE, stating whether the school committee has voted
Will
in favor
participate?
or not.
Okay, yeah, I was just reminded, actually, it was me that put it on there, so. Yeah. Thank you. May I have another? So, yeah, what this is, I guess this is a formality of the school committee. Every year, the district has to formally decide whether we want to opt in to school choice. And I think as members from previous school committees are quite familiar with this procedure. So with that being said, Mr. Welda, you want to comment and get the ball rolling?
Well, I'd love to get the recommendation of the superintendent before I
Okay.
make a motion.
Superintendent DeRusi.
I believe that Malden has consistently voted against the idea of school choice, and I am in favor of following along with that tradition of voting against the school choice policy.
Okay, there you have it, Mr. Weldy.
So I'll make a motion to formally withdraw from participating in school choice for the 2012-2013 school year.
Seconded by Mr. Iavino. So motion by Mr. Weldy, seconded by Mr. Iavino. Point of information, Superintendent, it's not opt-in, right? It's not to withdraw, because that means we would be in it.
It's right, not to participate. We're
Okay.
not saying we want to be a school choice district. We're staying out of that.
All right, is that clear, Mr. Weldy? Are you okay with that language change? It's
Yes,
not to
I'll add
opt-in,
that
yeah.
change, yeah.
All right, so motion by Mr. Weldy, seconded by Mr. Iavino. Any other discussion? Everybody's clear on what we're doing? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. So we will not participate in school choice for 2012-2013. We're now at the end of our docket. Points of personal privilege, left to right. Mr. Casucci.
I would like to thank the mayor for funding the new hockey program that Malden High will be offering, and taking the budget off of our hands. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Casucci, thank you. Thank you, I think. Anybody else? Ms. Doucette?
I would like to congratulate the class of 2012 for graduating on Sunday.
Yes.
I attended the girls softball game on Sunday with the mayor and City Councilor Iltrino. That was a wonderful game. Go girls, keep on going, keep us proud. And again, congratulations, class of 2012. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Doucette. Mr. Iavino.
Again, my congratulations to the graduating seniors at Malden High School on a job well done. Just as a comment that we did honor through academic awards 2 weeks ago some 33 youngsters from the Malden Public Schools, the Chevrolet School, and the Mystic Valley Regional Charter School. It was a wonderful program, and the youngsters really, I think the parents especially, but the youngsters appreciated it as well. This Thursday, the Malden Kiwanis is presenting scholarship awards to the 3 area high schools at its regular luncheon. So you are an ex officio member, Mr. Chairman, so you're always welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Iavino. Any other points of personal privilege? Down the end will come my way. Ms. Cabral.
Yeah, I'd like to say congratulations to all of the National Honor Society inductees, and as well, congratulations to the graduating class of 2012. I also want to say a special congratulations to all the 8th graders from all of the middle schools, a special one for the Ferryway, because they will be having their awards ceremony on June 14th. So good luck to them on their start of their high school career. I wish them luck, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cabral. Mr. Winslow.
Yeah, I too would like to congratulate the class of 2012, and good luck at the ceremony coming up this weekend, and also thank Ms. McDonald for her service as the school committee representative, and good luck to you on your future endeavors. Thanks.
Mr. Weldon.
Just a few quick notes, and I won't echo some of the congratulations to events that people have already mentioned, so I'll mention a few others. One of which is congratulations to the Malden High School Fine Arts Department. Both Todd Cole and Matt Tavares held their end-of-the-year concerts for the band and the chorus, and they were both very well attended and very well put on, as usual. And another thank you to both our history director, Judy Allen, and our science director, Diane Perito, for putting on the Civics and Science Night at the high school about 2 weeks back. Mayor Christensen and I had a chance to go through, and it actually was phenomenal to see so many teachers with their students presenting the work that they had done throughout the year. And it was an amazing experience to be able to watch kids from the 5th and 6th grade be able to go look at some of the things that kids in the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade were doing, and vice versa. And it was a nice chance for, I'm sure, not only the teachers to be able to see each other and see what was going on, but really when you saw the students interacting with each other, when you saw the students being able to go from booth to booth and interact with their teachers, interact with the mayor to offer suggestions and proposals, you really saw what we're looking for at work. You saw that interaction. You saw that inquiry. So on both the history side and the science side, it was a great night. The only other note of congratulations and invitation is that, remember, the Malden High School Class of 2012 commencement is this Sunday. It's at 2 p.m. at Brother Gilbert Stadium because the McDonald Stadium is being constructed on. So it's Sunday at 2 p.m. It will be broadcast, not live, but it will be rebroadcast on MATV. And I think, we've seen tonight with some of our presentations and some of the comments that were mentioned that we are definitely losing a very strong group in the class of 2012. We see people who are very engaged in their community, people who are engaged in their school. We saw Sam tonight. I'm a little bit partial because there's someone graduating with my last name up there who I know is not watching this, but congrats to Matthew Weldi. And congrats to Mallory McDonald, who I know we're going to see Mallory again on the 25th, but I think it's important to note how great it is that Mallory is going to be able to graduate on Sunday, and she'll be able to walk across the stage knowing the lasting contributions that she's made not only to the school system, but to this body. It's important to think about the parallel that we started this meeting talking about the policy committee taking up the bullying prevention policy with Ms. DeMaria next week, and that's something that I think Mallory will have a lasting legacy for, having such a heavy influence in that policy, among many others. So thank you for your service there as well, and I know we'll be acknowledging you again on the 25th. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Weldy. If I might, from the chair, hats off to Mr. Winslow and his organization Bike to the Sea, who had the official ribbon cutting on Sunday morning. And there must have been, I believe, 70 riders, which was a record, I believe, for the organization. And first 5 months, it was one of the best feelings I had as mayor. And, you know, Mr. Winslow, you were a reminder of why hard work and dedication really are the keys to success. You've been at this, I believe, for 20-plus years, and to see it all culminate on Sunday morning, it really is a good feeling, not just for the organization, but for the entire city. So couldn't be prouder to be sitting next to you here on the school committee. And also, just to echo, I believe, what the other members have said, from Black Box to National Honor to the internship program to baseball, softball, tennis, all making the playoffs this year, to Miss Veritas' class asking us today to expand recycling initiatives at Malden High and across the district, to Generation Citizen, to Mallory McDonald. You know, they are a reminder of why, you know, the future does indeed remain bright. So compliments to the class of 2012 and, you know, all of Malden High School for really, you know, leading the way this year. So with that being said, if there are no other questions, we have a motion to adjourn by Ms. Di Maria, seconded by Ms. Cabral. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Is there anybody opposed? Anybody want to stay longer? Non-debatable, all right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. School committee is hereby adjourned.